The southern bypass, before you reach Nairobi City, if you're coming from the airport, takes you from a place called City Cabanas all the way to Kikuyu and on the road to Naivasha, Nakuru. You can use this bypass to avoid city traffic and go directly to places like Karen, Langata, etc., etc. Personally, I've used the southern bypass multiple times, very many times. And that is why I find quite a number of things extremely odd, bordering on the bizarre, concerning what happened on that particular southern bypass this last Friday, involving very well-known lawyer and Kenyan entrepreneur, Karanja Kabage. And we're going to deal with that issue thoroughly in a moment. But first, let us go to a very small fishing village in the northern part of Tanzania called Chato. The home village of the current president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli. President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya made history by being the first foreign head of state to set foot in Chato. Indeed, there are not even very many Tanzanian presidents, if any, apart from Magufuli, that have set foot in Chato. Probably only the founding father, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. It's a very remote place. I've had the very good fortune of doing a road trip within most of Tanzania. Very beautiful country. Extremely beautiful. But I did not reach Chato. The closest to Chato I came is a major city called Mwanza on the shores of Lake Victoria. By the way, Chato is also on the shores of Lake Victoria. Mwanza is about 240 kilometers from Chato. But in Mwanza, up there in the hills, I saw a very humble, small house built by John Pombe Magufuli long before he was president. Mwanza is, of course, the nearest major city from Chato. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta not only made history by setting foot in Chato, in what was a private visit, but he also made history, by the way he charmed, his host and Tanzanians in general, talking about East African community and how the two East African countries, Kenya and Tanzania, should work closely together for the mutual benefit of both countries. And while he was doing that, he took the opportunity to castigate Kenyan politicians, indeed a Kenyan politician, who recently made a statement to the effect that Tanzanians should be ejected from Kenya, specifically from Nairobi, in one of the major markets in the city, Gikomba Market. And he followed up on his earlier diplomatic communication with the President of Tanzania to emphasize that the views or the reckless statements of that particular legislator, Jaguar, who's the MP for Starehe, do not reflect the official position of the Kenyan government. Now, a lot of Kenyans living in Tanzania must have found this visit by the Kenyan president very exciting. And with good reason, because never before in our history has the relation between Kenya and Tanzania diplomatically been so cold. And everybody is hoping Uhuru's efforts over the weekend, which really charmed the Tanzanians, will bring a huge change. Because the president even joked and said that he would send his son to Tanzania to seek a wife. And he said intermarriage will greatly help people to understand that we, the people of East Africa, are one people. Now, just to quickly bring you up to speed, one of the reasons why relationships between Nairobi and Dar es Salaam have been so icy, so cold, during the Uhuru Kenyatta Jubilee administration has to do with the fact that John Pombe Magufuli has been very close friends with opposition leader, His Excellency Raila Odinga, for very many years. Indeed, it was widely believed that the mock swearing in of Raila Odinga in January 2018 would happen in Tanzania. And I guess it has helped a lot that now we are under the handshake administration, where Raila Odinga is working very closely with the president. Anyway, bottom line, what the president of Kenya and the president of Tanzania did this last weekend is long overdue. Because for many years, these two countries have been drifting apart. Tanzanians are suspicious of Kenyans, and with good reason, because a lot of horrific crimes in that country have been done by criminals crossing the border to do things in Tanzania over the years. And Kenyans seem to have a superiority complex over Tanzanians, which they should not have, because most Kenyans do not understand Tanzania, and especially its history. And also they don't appreciate that you don't have to force your neighbor to be like you. Your neighbor is just different. So accept that and find a way to work together. One does not have to be an economist to see the obvious. And what is the obvious? The obvious is that proper cooperation and free movement of people within the two borders would bring for both countries unprecedented economic development, never before seen. That's pretty obvious. Contrary to what many people believe, given the proper opportunities, Tanzanian traders are better than their Kenyan counterparts. I realize that is a very controversial statement I've made. But trust me, because I understand Tanzania intimately. I've lived there for years. My prayer is that the president's weekend visit will ultimately end up revolutionizing the relationship between the two countries for the mutual benefit of both peoples. Now on to the Karanja Kabage manenos. Shortly before 7 p.m. on Friday, eyewitnesses report that they saw a vehicle slowing down, making a U-turn, so that it was on the wrong side of the road, and then drifting and hitting a curb slightly. Take careful note of the fact that all this unfolded, it is impossible for it to have unfolded any other way, except that the vehicle was at a very slow speed. And yet this is a bypass. Most of the vehicles, when they're on this road, are at a very high speed. In fact, most vehicles ignore the few speed limits along this stretch of road. But even while obeying the speed limit in certain short stretches, the way people describe the vehicle behaving could not have happened even at a speed of 40 kilometers an hour. The vehicle was going much slower before it came to a rest on the curb. Now, two good Samaritans came to the vehicle, and they found Mr. Kabage, Karanja Kabage, who asked them to take him to Nairobi Hospital. And those were definitely some of his last words on earth. He was rushed to hospital. One of the good Samaritans drove his vehicle, while the other one followed behind. And on the way, he lost consciousness. And he never recovered consciousness. Despite the best efforts of doctors to revive him, he died. Now, it is super fascinating that well-known Kenyan lawyer based in Canada, Miguna, was super quick to compare the death of Karanja Kabage to that of another great Kenyan, and indeed a lawyer, a man by the name of Clement Michael George Agwings Kodek. Now, for many years, the official story was that Bwana Agwings Kodek, who died on the junction of Wood Avenue, and a road which today is named after him, Agwings Kodek Road, died from a road accident. The official story was that his car rolled. But during the Kibaki administration, classified government information was released, which indicated that actually Bwana Agwings Kodek died from a gunshot wound. and the shot was fired from a police-issued rifle. Bottom line, alimalizwa na serikali. So, why should Miguna be so quick to make assumptions? Although we already know that the IG, Inspector General of Police, has ordered an investigation, an inquiry into the death of Bwana Karanja Kabage. I find it super interesting that already somebody somewhere or some people are trying to push forward the theory that he had a heart attack, which is quite unlikely. Why? Because although there's something called a mild heart attack, not a major one, it is highly unlikely that somebody having a heart attack would have the time to slow down their vehicle. Not impossible, highly unlikely. Notice my careful choice of words. It is also highly unlikely that somebody who has just had a heart attack will be able to speak and tell people to take him to hospital. And that is why Kenyans are waiting with bated breath for the results of that investigation. And indeed the results of the post-mortem that will show the cause of death of this Kenyan entrepreneur and lawyer. More so because Bwana Kabage was in politics. Oh yes, he vied unsuccessfully for the senatorial seat in Nakuru County. Kabage was actually born in the Elbagon area, within Molo sub-county. And he was a very wealthy businessman with vast interests in insurance, apart from being a very respected senior counsel, a lawyer. Our very sincere condolences go to his family and close friends. For those who have access to my weekly intelligence briefings, I go much more deeply into this issue in my latest video for the weekly intelligence briefings, which is going to be released very shortly. So I'd advise you, if you're not a member, to become one right away. And all the details you need to do that should be on your screen right now. Miguna is a smart Kenyan, but there are those who feel that his sentiments about the death of Bwana Kabage are very premature. How could he have come to such a conclusion while he's so far away in Canada and with scanty details of something that has just happened in Kenya? However, looking closely at Kenya's history, Miguna's sentiments are not very easy just to brush aside. But of course, all that is very highly sensitive information, and you know where to get it. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.